All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Brothers and Boss Battles, a video game showdown. Today, we're talking the second of our category games you can complete in one night. And tonight, we're talking Portal. All right, Pete, why don't you give us your initial thoughts on Portal?
Portal is like doing a workout. Well, more specifically, like a workout set. So when you work out and you're doing your set of, let's say, 10 reps, the first 6 or 7 reps are going to be pretty easy, right? But then, you need that to fatigue your muscles, so the last few reps are tough. So Portal is like this. So the original game only has 19 levels, essentially, and I'd say you can complete the first at least 10, pretty relatively easy. So, those are still a fun way to learn the mechanics of the game, but it doesn't leave you with too much. So if it sounds a little minimal, it is, but yeah, I guess that's why it's in this category, I suppose.
All right, Tom, what about you?
So I mean, Portal has been, a pretty critically acclaimed game for a long time, and I had never played it before, so I was happy to get this opportunity to play it. I had a lot of fun with it. I'm not like a huge puzzle fan, but I thought this game was really well done. Yeah, you know what? Let's not give too much away. Let's keep it there.
Yeah, and for my initial thoughts, I'll just say it's. I certainly I have never played this before either. I certainly do understand a lot of the hype, though. It's another one of those games where, as you get into it, it kind of does make you feel. And while it is primarily a platformer puzzler, but it includes a little bit of a story, has some interesting like music things in it too, and we will discuss it coming right up. All right. Portal was first released as part of the Orange Box, which we'll explain later, for Windows and Xbox 360 on October 10th. That's October 10th, 2007. And then for the PlayStation 3 on December 17th, 2007. Portal's Still Alive, which I believe is the version that we all played, it's at least the version I played, was released for Xbox Live Arcade on October 22nd, 2008. And that included the original game, 14 new challenges, and some new achievements. This was developed and published by the company Valve.
I just want to clarify that I didn't have access to an Xbox, so I played the game on Steam, and that was the original Portal.
Okay.
By the way, at time of recording, the Steam summer sale is going on, and the game, you can get Portal and Portal 2 for $1.50 US dollars. So,
And at the end of this, you'll know whether our recommendation is to do that or not.
Nice. So just also to clarify, it was the Still Alive version was the 19 original chambers, 14 new challenges, I think you called them, and then there was also 6 more advanced versions of 6 of the original chambers.
Alrighty.
So there's a lot more in this Still Alive.
All right. And before we get too far, for those that don't know, Brothers and Boss Battles, a video game showdown, is our podcast here, where me, Anthony, and my brothers, Pete and Tom, talk about video games, new and old. We talk about the story, gameplay, music, effect on the gaming world, and more. And specifically, the way we do the show is that we pick a genre or category, and each of us picks a game within that genre or category, and we review that game. So for the first 3 episodes of that grouping, you have your game reviews. And the 4th episode of that grouping is our Bro Down episode, where we have a courtroom-style debate, each of us defending the game that we chose while attacking the others and ultimately declaring a winner. All right, so Portal and Portal Still Alive. We'll talk about it mostly interchangeably because we'll talk mostly about the main game, but as Pete mentioned, some little additional things for Portal still alive. Um, Medical talk about. And I mentioned in the little intro there that this Portal was originally released as part of the Orange Box, which included Half-Life 2 and two add-on episodes for Half-Life 2. So Valve was sort of under the impression that, or at least consider the possibility that Portal would not do well or be cared about, and therefore they included it as part of this package. It was later released as a standalone on April 9th, 2008. And then, as we mentioned, the Portal Still Alive version came onto the Xbox Live Arcade. So obviously that should indicate that the game did go on to gain a lot of praise and do quite well and be quite popular.
Yeah, and I'm sure at a very low cost. There's not that many, I don't know, I'll say there's not that many interesting mechanics other than the main mechanic, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the graphics are sort of so-so. You know, they're good
Yeah.
for the time, but it's not, incredibly powerful looking. You don't really have many characters, so there's that as well. But that's what kind of makes it cool. It's like you start the game, and just for those that still want to play it that may not have spoiler alerts, we will be talking about the story and specific gameplay mechanics that you may want to experience without them being spoiled. So there you go. Um, but the setup is cool when you sort of wake up in that chamber just with that like somewhat distorted, crappy radio music playing, which will be important later on, or at least a cool little
More interesting, yeah.
cool little like foreshadowing later on. But you wake up alone in this like from this pod apparently, and then you're off on your mission, and all you really interact with is this omnipresent AI voice that I guess you don't really know is a computer or AI at that point, but kind of cheering you on, kind of telling you what to do, kind of being sarcastic, all of those things.
Yeah, if you don't know it's a computer, it certainly sounds like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so what did you guys think at like when you first started and you made through the first few chambers or whatever? Right? It feels like going through some training maybe. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's kind of what I thought it was. Like, I mean, from a story perspective, anyway,
Yeah.
that it was like, or like they're kind of doing like experiments, but in the sense of like kind of like an IQ test, like how quickly can somebody solve these puzzles and get through 'em?
You're right, right.
Yeah, I don't know that I went into it thinking there would be a story. Especially when you start, it does just kind of seem like this is going to be go through some puzzles. So, but like as you go forward, you kind of reach these alcoves that really have nothing to do with solving the puzzles or progressing your or making progress, but there's things scrawled in them and just like radios and other objects in there that kind of make you think like, okay, I guess there is something more here than just solving puzzles. Yeah, so I mean, I guess we could start with the gameplay. I mean, that's usually, kind of important. You're a character in first person. Um, their name is Chell, but you really don't know that from the game. I just kind of knew that from reading about the game. Um, at least I didn't catch it in game. You start out and you kind of go from chamber to chamber, and it's just chamber in the sense that it's not like you're in a cage, but in a way you are because you can't progress without solving the puzzle in that particular chamber. And the way you do it early on, the AI the in-game AI, GLaDOS, and does anyone have the acronym? That is the acronym. I had it here.
Genetic life form and disk operating system.
There you go. So that AI is basically telling you what to do, kind of making comments as you go throughout. And the first couple of puzzles are real easy. I actually don't think you have like any control over the portals themselves. And that's the main mechanic. You kind of create portals to solve these platformer puzzles, and they get increasingly difficult as you go on. But early on, it's just sort of the AI, just I guess so you get used to going through it, just creating one portal and then going to the other, and then that gets you out of the chamber, and eventually you pick up a portal gun that allows you to make one portal, and then the AI is making the other portal, and then after that you get the ability to use the make the two portals yourself, and then it's solely on you to kind of figure out where you got to go and what you have to do.
Yeah, I think that was chapter 11 where you get the second portal gun.
Yeah,
So I really feel like everything before that was a bit simplistic.
yeah. I did not beat this in one night, as the title of this category indicates, but it can be. It certainly can be,
Yeah,
and
I
you
mean,
could basically breeze through the first 9 or 10 puzzles,
yeah.
even without having played it. It'll probably take you an hour, never having played it, just to get through that.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, for sure.
I just put on a YouTube video of somebody playing through the whole game, and the whole video was 40 minutes,
Yeah,
like completing the game.
yeah. So if you
Yeah.
know the puzzles, yeah. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't say you would. Yeah, I mean, you're certainly not going to beat it unless you're very intuitive. You're
Yeah.
not gonna you're not gonna beat it that quickly, because the
Yeah.
later puzzles do get there's a lot of trial and error involved.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think some of those later puzzles, particularly the second to last one, I feel like that was the most difficult.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one.
Probably, I probably spent an hour on that alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really the mechanic. You're walking, you can jump. Again, it's like a clunky human jump, kind of like what we talked about in Inside last episode. Um,
Not to compare, but it was very way clunkier in Portal,
yeah.
and you had to use it at times.
Yeah, yeah. So the puzzles cannot be solved. Some puzzles cannot be solved without it. Um, but it's really it's jump, walk, and you can crouch. I don't, there were, I guess, a couple of times where you could needed to crouch, and
Yeah,
then the portal gun, the left trigger shot out, I think, the orange one, and then the blue triggers shot out the right trigger shot out the blue one. Imagine there was a blue and orange
yeah.
trigger.
You could
But
also
that,
pick up items.
yeah,
There
but
were
they were, it was, I hate when games do that. I
what?
get there was no,
No,
oh,
there was like
there
the
was a,
blocks.
yeah, well, that you kind of do almost with the gun. It almost looks like you're doing it. I guess you're not technically, but there are random objects you could pick up that don't do anything.
True.
But then
That's true.
there are those security robots at the end.
Yeah,
That, yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah.
that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom.
Oh no, I was just agreeing.
Oh,
So just real quick, one thing you mentioned that it was first person, but when you were talking about the character, but you actually can see the character if
yeah,
you place the portals in a
yeah,
strategic way,
yeah,
or you
which is
kind of
cool.
see
So
yourself through the portal.
right, so you see that it's like a female
Yeah.
protagonist, and then she's kind of just in a suit. I found it interesting because there are times when you can die, like if you there are a few different ways, and we could talk about those. Like you could fall into this like water pit. It was also like always really kind of like this acid water, I guess. And then we mentioned security kind of droids, like robots that can kill you later on in the game. And there were a couple of like energy balls that you would have to that would bounce off the walls, that you would have to use the portals to get into, like a socket type thing. But if those hit you, they would kill you. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I felt like when you died, it almost looked like a robot. Like when you fell in like those pools of the acid water or whatever. I don't know if that was just like simulating that like another robot had previously died in that water, and you maybe hit into it, and that's what it showed. But it almost looked like that's why I thought at one point that like you yourself as the character were a robot, but I guess it doesn't really look like that when you do that portal trick.
I didn't pick up on that.
Me either. Was it just the water? Because, like you mentioned, you could die, say, when that energy ball hits you, and then
Yeah, I
yeah,
guess. I don't, yeah, I remember it most when I was in the water, so it was probably that.
yeah. There's a couple of other ways to die. The blocks that you need to use to like in various ways, and mainly to like push down a button to open a door. Those usually fall from some, I
Height.
don't know, storage thing in the ceiling, and I think if that falls on you, I think you
Yeah, I
die.
think. Yeah. And at the beginning of each chamber, it kind of signals what things you'll have to be dealing with in that. So and it'll have the danger. So it may have the box falling on like a stick figure head or like the portal kind of moniker
Right?
character
Yeah,
thing. And
I thought
that'll
that was really
indicate,
cool.
yeah,
Sorry, I thought that was really cool. It didn't really help you. I feel, you
yeah,
know,
just kind of clued you into what's coming. And I think early on it helped because like the energy ball you may not necessarily know that that would kill you, but like there is an image that they show that does indicate that it would hurt you.
it's true.
I mean, you're probably just gonna find out by dying once and then,
Yeah,
but
another big part, and I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about the different. Do you want to talk about the different sort of key obstacles or whatever in more detail? I don't know. But anyway, one of the things that
got to
I was
talk
going to
about
talk about,
something. Yeah,
what I was going to talk about, one of the thing that I didn't like or that I liked the least was the use of your momentum to travel farther
yeah,
distances.
yeah. Those are the hardest puzzles to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They weren't even hard from like a knowledge standpoint. It was more just from like physically being able to pull it off.
Yeah, it was an execution thing. It was
Yeah.
just tough. So basically, and the GLaDOS does sort of explain it, but it like it's hard to know what to do just based on an explanation. So for those that don't know, there are situations where like there'll be a big gap that you have to traverse that you really you can't jump into the hole or you'll die. So the way you do it is like you do a forward facing portal and then you jump off a cliff and then shoot a portal out so that your momentum of going through that portal takes you through the other portal at a high momentum and will propel you to the platform or across the gap. And there's several of those and they come up in different ways a little bit. Those are to me always the hardest.
yeah. So eventually, I kind of learned this, but for the longest time, I was just, say you were just jumping off a high point to pick up the momentum. I was just creating a portal on the floor and trying to like jump through it.
Yeah, the
And
controls
a lot
aren't
of
good
times I
enough for
would
that.
miss. And,
Yeah.
because it's first person, it's kind of hard to tell really where your body is positioned.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was
You
doing
know,
that too early on, but you really have to kind of shoot the portal as you're falling.
yes, exactly.
Then it becomes way easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wish I knew that from the start.
Yeah.
So it's like things like that. Like you have to kind of discover, but had you already known that, you might beat the first couple of levels in 5 minutes.
Yeah, because like the very end, sort of like past the chambers and everything, like I was doing those way more efficiently.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and just some of the other puzzles. Like there is one particular puzzle where you almost kind of use it in a true teleporting fashion where you have to like hit two small buttons so that a locked gate would open up so that you can then get the like energy ball to hit it. So that one was very tough because you got to use the portal in one area, then the portal with the button to press, and then and a portal in the other area. So you could hit the portal, go through the portal to get to that other one right away, and then shoot the new portal on the wall so that the energy ball would hit where it needed to hit on the socket thing. So that was a pretty difficult one. Oh, and I think it's important to mention you only got to have one blue portal and one orange portal at a time. So that's what that's what makes the game tricky. Once
Yeah.
you shot, if you had a blue portal out and you shot a blue portal in a different area, that first blue portal would disappear.
Yeah. Right. That's a good distinction.
Yeah, so
That
sometimes you
was
have
one of the hardest parts of a puzzle is when you had to like Because there was like a time element too,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
right? Because you would hit the switch and the door would only open for a handful of seconds,
Hmm.
so you have to get the ball through there just in time. Also, do you guys remember it was like these some sort of indication of a barrier, and then if you walk through it, then all your portals would go away. Those were
Yeah,
those were those were annoying,
yeah.
but it appeared a few times.
Yeah, I think there was one with those energy balls like going
Yes.
through it, and then it would just kind of
Disappear.
does
No,
it? No,
no,
no, it goes through. Yeah,
the balls will go through, but they kind of get you where you have a portal on one side of the barrier, and then
yeah,
the ball's supposed to go through, and then you have to get to
Oh,
the other side of the barrier. So you have to kind
yeah,
of time it where as soon as the ball comes through the portal you need,
yeah.
then you go through the barrier, then the ball comes through, and so on.
right. Yeah, they were tough.
Yeah, but I liked the difficulty level in the game. I felt
Hmm.
like it was tough, at least like these latter 9 or 10.
Hmm.
But not like it really made you think, and I mean, like, not from a story perspective,
Yeah, actually think.
like actually use your brain. Um, but it wasn't like impossible.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up because they really did a good job of making it feel like it was really challenging. But I feel like most people who play the game beat the game. So like, is it really that challenging?
Yeah. I mean, I think the shortness of it makes it very manageable because you're not like figuring out 100 puzzles. You're figuring out 19 and like really only 10 that take some intensity to it.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess it was kind of like I don't know. It's kind of like school where it's like the answers aren't obvious, but if you like sit down and think about it, you'll figure it out.
All right, so Portal's like working out and it's like school. So
Oh
I,
man,
I got to come up with an analogy.
an analogy of something that most people don't enjoy.
Like going to the dentist.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that was like pulling teeth. No, the worst part of the momentum ones, to go back to that, was when you had to, on the fly, shoot another portal. So you had your
Oh,
two portals to gain the momentum, but then you had to, like maybe on the ceiling and then the floor. But
yeah.
then once you picked up momentum, then you had to shoot a portal on the wall so you could, move horizontally.
Yeah, that
You know,
was the hardest puzzle for
yes.
me. That was the last part of Chamber 18, I think. 17?
Yeah. 18.
Yeah.
18.
That's right. But
There was a
is that the only
series of
time? Is that the only time you had to do that?
that was the only time where it was that much where you had to like keep going through like there were multiple you're really traversing upwards and like had to go through many up down portals
Yeah, you had to do that many times
and
in a
it
row.
would
Yeah.
just like shift your perspective once you went through the portal. So it
Yeah.
was just like you'd have to like move the R stick so that you would be facing the right way a lot of the times, which like made it harder.
That was the big problem. If you were facing one direction, yeah, it kind of shifted. So you didn't really know you weren't necessarily facing in that same direction, and you had to kind of orient yourself. And
Yeah,
then by the time you did that, you would
you missed the
slightly
chance.
move, and yeah, and you would miss the portal on the floor, and then you have to start all over again.
That part I really did not think I was going to be able to beat because that one I tried multiple nights and couldn't do it, and then one day I just really hunkered down and did it, and I was very happy.
Games you can't beat in multiple nights would be the category. Wait, but you mentioned to us off air, you said you were trying to basically do it all in one shot, right? Like basically every time you fell through the
Yeah.
portal, you were trying to hit it, not realizing that you would keep the momentum.
Yeah, because if you just were able to stay in place and just move your head to orient yourself and where you had to shoot, you would keep going through the same two portals up and down, and it would keep your momentum up. So once I figured that out, though the first two that never seemed to work for me, like your actual portal. But then after that, I was able to like as I was going up, like I noticed that that was the case, and it kind of helped me figure it out and eventually do it.
So the part that in the whole game that I found to be the most challenging, or at least it took me the most time, was the part just before that part that you were talking about, and with the momentum stuff. Right. So that was still part of the same chamber, but that was it was in that pretty big room, and first you have to take out I think there's two or three of those droids on different platforms. And so you have to get the energy balls through the portal basically to knock those droids off their platforms. Um,
Oh
but
yeah,
then there was like,
that part. Yeah,
yeah,
because you can't like teleport to behind them as you can in other
right,
parts with those robots.
right, exactly. But there was basically a lot of the mechanics were in that room, right? You had to shoot the ball through the portal and then open up or press the switch to open up that door, that window, so it could go into the receiver.
Yeah.
There was the momentum you had to use
Yeah.
to get across the whole thing, which didn't feel like the momentum would be enough to get across that large distance.
Yeah. But that
That,
particular panel you had to put the portal on was like angled upwards a little bit. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that just took me a long time to figure out.
yeah, that was probably the one that took me the longest too. Because I mean, I figured, you press the switch. It was really that part, like, taking care of the robots with the guns didn't really,
Mhm.
that wasn't
Yeah,
much of an
same.
issue. But yeah, I mean, like when you press the switch, you see that wall kind of gets angled upwards, as you mentioned. So it's like, you have to do something with that, but just to find the right way to execute that jump was challenging.
Yeah, that was a tough one. That was towards the end there. And once you ran into like those robots, like GLaDOS does say something, but like you kind of notice something. You kind of at that point definitively realize the first time you have those robot sentries with the guns or the laser guns, whatever they are. That's when you kind of realize that there's something more going on here. This isn't just like an experiment, or well, it is, but it's not like sort of one that everyone involved has consented to. It seems.
Yeah, well, that was chamber 16, I believe, where the droids are first. That's pretty late in the game.
Yeah.
Actually, for that part, I didn't realize it at the time, but I saw someone who's better at me at the game playing it on YouTube, and
Oh, I thought you were watching me play.
maybe it was you. I don't even know. I don't even know who it was, but they shot portals or a portal above the droid, so like on the ceiling above the droid, and
And then
then
put the box through.
put the box through. I
Oh,
didn't
that it,
do
mu- it
that.
must have been me. That's what I. That's no, it wasn't. I did not make a YouTube video, but that is what I did.
It must have been me.
Yeah, I did that too.
I did that.
I
Yeah,
think that's how. I think
because
that's what you're supposed to do. But
yeah,
I was
because
just using the blocks as shields.
oh,
Uh,
and I'm like just pushing them over.
Yeah, yeah. Because you had multiple blocks at that time. At
Yeah,
that point.
see, the blocks. There's nothing else to do with the blocks there, so I figured you had to use it to kill or knock out the robots.
Yeah, I just used the shield, and you can take damage, right? You could take a few hits
Yeah,
before
without
you
dying.
die.
Yeah,
So I use that to my advantage there.
right. Yeah, they were easy to kill once you can get your hands on them or drop something on them. Like this wasn't like a boss battle.
Yay!
Like an epic boss battle or something.
Yay!
You're not gonna get any of those in this type of game.
Oh, maybe.
Pee Wee Herman. You could also shoot the portal basically at their feet, those droids'
Mhm.
feet, and they would fall through, and depending on where the other portal was.
Yeah.
That was another way to do it sometimes.
So what should we talk about next? Because we kind of talked about the levels and so there's, well, I'll bring this up. Before we get to like the end game story and all of that. Did you do any of those extra challenges that was in Still Alive, Pete?
I did. Yeah. I did all of them, in fact.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, yeah.
I did literally the first one, and then I was like, I don't want to do it anymore.
Really?
Yeah,
Well,
so you will be our point person on these extra chambers or challenges.
yeah. But that's interesting because I feel like, and maybe Tom, you could speak best to this, but having just those original 19, and because I knew I had more to play after that, but I wanted to play more after the 19. Like I just feel like, Tom, did you go through the 19 and feel like you had enough, or were you like, wow, that was a short game that I could beat in a night?
Uh, I mean, I was having fun throughout, so like I would have welcomed more content, but I will say I did feel that that final level was quite long, and
Yes, it was.
I was kind of like I wanted to play more, but also at the same time, that level I was like, is this gonna end anytime soon?
Yeah, that
Like it's
last
also,
level was a little epic,
yeah, we'll get to it a
and
little
we'll
bit,
talk
but
about it. Yeah. So
it
yeah,
was also a nice way to conclude, I guess, the game and the
yeah,
story. So
yeah. It kind of was, and so then it kind of was like, oh, I'm gonna put myself back in these chambers again.
yeah,
I think if I had gone
I
back another night and done it, like I did one because I just wanted to see it, and it was easy because it was like the first chamber. Um,
yeah. So
and
those,
honestly, and the challenges are basically. Oh, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's like there's different ways to improve your performance in the chamber, essentially, I guess, as the challenge, right? It's like the least amount of portals used, like I think it was like the least amount of steps and maybe a time thing or
And
something.
time, yeah, those
Yeah,
were the
so
three.
yeah. So that's that I mean that I think introduces a ton of replay value to this game. Well, to Still Alive.
Yeah, yeah.
To the Still Alive version of Portal, not the original
I
necessarily.
guess it does. I wasn't trying to do any of those. I did get like a little medal icon next to one of those stats. I think it was the portals, the minimal portals in two of those chambers. So I did get something, but I just feel like for the most part, once you figure out how to do the puzzle, everyone should be able to just do the minimal everything. Some of them
Unless
require a
you
little more dexterity that you
Yeah,
might
yeah,
mess up or something.
right. Those are you can even if you know what to do, you can execute poorly, and therefore
Yeah,
may
yeah,
use more
for
portals
many
than
of them.
yeah.
You're right, I guess.
But yeah, I mean, once you figure it out, that whole trial and error portion of the game goes away.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the fun is figuring it out.
Yeah, of course. I
To
mean, I
do it
think
in less portals or less footsteps, that I don't get my jollies from that. But I was gonna say those 14. So there's 14 still alive chambers, and
14
I
in
beat.
addition to the 19.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And I don't know. I feel like all of them. Well, the first handful were kind of easy, not as easy as the first few of the original game,
Yeah.
but I'd say the majority of those still alive chambers, those the difficulty of those were probably equivalent to, maybe chamber 15, 16, 17 in the original game.
Oh, so even like the hardest challenges you would say are not as challenging as the most challenging parts of the actual game.
I would, that's what I would say.
You would say it
Yes,
just
what
like
you
that.
said. Yes. But I will say this though. Talking about challenging challenges, those six advanced chambers that were, additional content on top of the still alive chambers, those were very hard.
Were they?
Yeah, I actually only beat three of the six.
Oh, wow. Were
Yeah.
those harder versions of the same levels, or were they completely
Yes.
new levels?
No, no, yeah. Thank you for asking that. Those are harder versions of six of the 19 originals.
Mm. Oh boy.
What six? Do you happen to know?
Yeah. There.
Was either of them like 18 or 19?
I don't think it was 19.
Yeah, that would have been too much.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But some of the latter chambers,
Yeah.
or many of the latter chambers. Yeah, so I really like I haven't looked up the solutions to the three that I couldn't beat because maybe one day I'd like to go back and try to beat it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I spent a lot of extra time. So I definitely didn't beat this game in one night because I did, basically double the game
Yeah.
by doing it.
Still alive. is hard to beat in one night.
Yeah, for sure. So did you guys know this was like, I guess it's set in the same world as Half-Life?
And I think I did come to know that. I've never played any of the Half-Life games.
Yes, me neither.
Yeah, I knew it was the same company, but I wasn't sure that they were like same universe.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's same universe, and from what I was reading, during development, that was almost like a decision to kind of save time and stuff. Like they used a lot of the assets, from what I understand, from Half-Life 2.
Hmm. Tom, did you ever play Half-Life?
No. Yeah, I mean that's another one that's like highly.
Acclaimed.
That's a shooter, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah.
Huh, maybe you could classify Portal as a shooter. You're shooting portals. You have a portal gun.
So, why don't we talk about the end of Portal, like in the story? So, yeah, I just like to preface, like there are parts I had mentioned earlier, these little alcoves where you don't really do anything puzzle wise, but there'll be like a little alcove. You go in it and there's like help scraped on the wall, or almost like the countdown, like the sticks and all of that. So you kind of know something's up, and you're being essentially taunted sarcastically by GLaDOS, this over omnipresent AI. Um, so you kind of start to learn, like, oh, I'm probably in trouble too. There's all these dangerous puzzles, or increasingly dangerous and difficult puzzles and things that can kill you. So, you know that's what it is. And so you get to the, like, you're in chamber 19, and it's like that is the last one. And I think it's signaled that that's the last one. So you kind of beat it, you get to the platform you're on, and then I think Gladys is kind of saying congratulations, all of that. And then the last thing, you're on a platform and you're basically headed right to a fiery pit, and there's nowhere to go. So, I mean, if you go in that, and I am very proud of myself, and I probably shouldn't be, but I did not die in that part. I did not like go into the fiery pit thinking, oh, well, I guess this is what I have to do. So I did, use the portals to escape that. And then GLaDOS is sort of saying that is kind of like, oh, what are you doing? Blah blah blah. We weren't going to hurt you, even though clearly they were. So then you're in, like, sort of like the back areas of this facility that all of these tests and chambers were in. Um, and you're still using the portals and your portal gun to get out of that, but you're kind of now running into all of those sentry robots, but also you needing to use all of the uh, movements and skills that you've learned throughout the game, to get to the end. And then when you get to the end, there is actually a boss battle in this game. And that was
Yay!
very surprising, and very, very cool. It was a very fun boss battle, and they did it in the context of this game where you didn't have any, like, artillery other than this portal gun. But what you essentially had to do was use that to break these, like, mechanical balls off of GLaDOS and throw in the incinerator. And the balls were like parts of her personality, I guess, or part of GLaDOS. So then once you do that, GLaDOS basically, or at least the physical body it's in, ceases to exist. What'd you guys think of it? Was my explanation good?
Yes, your
Yeah.
explanation is good. No, that was I thought that was a really cool part. And when you were telling us you were struggling with chapter or chamber 18, I was like, oh man, you're gonna miss out on the end. That's really cool. Blah blah blah. So that was cool. So the funny thing, I also on the first try escaped the fire, but then I couldn't figure out what to do once I got to that kind of other platform. So I was like, well, maybe actually this is the end of the game, and like it's supposed to be like kind of like a makes you think type of thing where you have no choice but to go in the fire. So that's what I did.
Oh man. Is it does GLaDOS say anything interesting there, or do you kind of just die like you always do? It's like basically just like the first person
No, I
camera falls to the ground and
yeah, exactly. I think it was just that.
yeah, that's funny. Tom?
Yeah, but when you're going into the fire, GLaDOS is speaking and saying how it's the end and this and that.
Yeah.
And I think she says something like, "Oh, you're able to withstand heat, or you or things are able to withstand heat."
I think it's
You
maybe
know?
the gun or something. Like that
Oh,
won't get
okay.
destroyed, but
Right.
we don't
Okay.
need you.
Okay.
You're dispensable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool fight. It kind of made you do all.
Did you
It was
think?
like a culmination of all the abilities that you've or techniques that you've used throughout the game. There's a one part where I think it was like the third, uh, like
Ball.
all.
Core,
Yeah.
that they called them.
Where it was like suspended in the air and you had to kind of like jump up to hit it down.
Yeah, yeah, that one seemed like a little, I don't know, kind of janky.
Oh yeah, it would. There were plenty of times where I felt like I fell right onto it and it wouldn't knock off.
I, yeah,
But again,
Yeah,
that
that
it's using it's first person from 15 years ago game, I think was the problem
yeah. That's the only one that sticks out to me
in that fight. Yeah.
in that fight,
yeah.
yeah.
See,
But did you guys die on that fight? 'Cause I'm pretty sure I beat it on my first try.
I lost the first time because I didn't really know what I was doing at first.
Yeah, I died one time, the first time, just because I did everything too slowly, or I guess I figured out what I had to do after too much time had already passed. Because yeah, that's the other thing with that. That's a timed battle.
Yeah, right. That's how you die, quote
Yeah,
unquote die.
yeah, yeah. Essentially, there's like poison gas being pumped into the room, and if I think you have 5 minutes to beat it, or maybe
That sounds about
less.
right.
But you have to, you have to use the portals too to get to the higher elevation, or to you had to press a button in one area of the room to open the incinerator. So you essentially had to position the portal where it was above the incinerator, and the other one near the button you had to press. So you would press the button, put the ball through the one portal, and then it would drop into the incinerator. But there was sometimes dropping stuff through the portals was a bit, to use your word, Tom, janky as well. So it was like, it didn't
Huh.
always work.
That's a smart way to do it. I was just putting the portal next to the incinerator and walking through while holding the
Oh,
ball
you were
and
doing
then
that? Oh,
dropping it into myself. Yeah.
hmm.
Yeah, so just on this kind of story stuff, I guess, but just to go back, like at first, it really does seem like some, nothing really bad going on, but GLaDOS, always says things that I just feel like are very corporate and generic, and it's like safety is one of the many experiment center's goals or something like that, and that all adds to it, I feel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you kind of learn as the game GLaDOS through the comments is just showing that she's really viewing you and clearly the other test subjects that were there that you don't see, but you kind of glean or just sort of dispensable. It's almost like a lab rat to them.
Yeah.
This company, I think it was Aperture, was trying to, I guess, develop these weapons or whatever. And GLaDOS is sort of the AI controlling the facility. And it's very just, yeah, cold and robotic. And it doesn't matter how many lives are lost as long as the goal is realized. Um, and it's funny, so we talked about that battle. Eventually you beat her. And then the end credits is where you hear one of maybe the best video game songs ever written. And
So I guess Tom didn't hear it, right? Is it
why?
only part is still alive
No, no,
or
the credits roll after you beat the
oh,
boss.
Yeah.
okay.
And
Okay.
that the song's name is still alive.
Right.
So it's a
That I
base.
understood, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Ah,
basically GLaDOS sing songy, but she's still alive. And I guess it makes sense. It's like the AI of her, like her essence is still alive. It's like the body she was in, that like robotic sort of machine. blew up or ceased to exist. But then she's singing this very sarcastic song about like, oh, I thought, it's kind of like I thought we were friends. And not really those words, but like, but then you blew me up, and then it's like, well, we do what we do for the science. We do what we must because we can. And it's just like a lot of really funny lyrics. But at the end, it is very it's sort of ominous, where she's like, P.S. And I'm still alive, and then it's like it keeps going, like I'm still alive, and how they work it into the song, and it's just it clearly sets up a sequel, which eventually was made since GLaDOS is still existing. Um, but it's just so melodic. Like the song is so good too. It's so like poppy and has a lot of cool like musical signatures in it and stuff.
No, no one's gonna get this reference, but it reminded me of Skipper Dan, that Weird Al original song.
It reminded me of like a Fountains of Wayne song almost, with like
Yeah, I can
more,
hear that.
like especially musically. Like the lyrics obviously were a little funny, but even they had like sarcastic lyrics sometimes. So yeah, it was just it's good. There's a like a piano guy I follow on YouTube, Charles Cornell, and he did like a whole like thing, about like he'll listen to it and then like play it on the piano and stuff, and it's just yeah, very
A couple
interesting.
of things about the ending we're not saying. So, what happens to Chell, right? So after you defeat the boss, the kind of facility kind of blows up, and there's a scene, presumably from the first person perspective of Chell, of outside the facility,
Right.
outdoors.
Yeah, you're outside.
And then, the camera moves in a way where it kind of feels like you're being dragged back in, or you're being dragged somewhere.
Oh, I actually didn't pick up on that. Hmm.
Oh,
Well, that's yeah. I think it's Chell again in Portal 2, so I
yeah,
guess
so that would make
I
sense.
guess that makes sense. So
And the other part of
yeah,
the ending,
yeah. So you briefly have this euphoria, but then you hear that song, and then you're apparently getting dragged back in.
yeah, yeah, go back and watch it. Pretty sure that's what the intention was. And then the other part about the ending, I guess technically there is, but you don't get to enjoy the cake. So throughout the game, like you're basically being told that there's this reward of cake at the end, which I liked. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, it's very corporate. I don't know. Did you guys
Yeah,
watch the show Severance?
no.
I saw the first like 5 episodes.
Yeah, it's good. Like I feel like GLaDOS was a lot of those like corporate people in that show as well. I was like,
Yeah, well, that's what I felt like.
yeah,
Like
like you
her
almost,
lines were very corporate.
yeah, you almost died. Here's some cake. Make it all
Yeah,
better.
my favorite line was in one of the chambers. She says, paraphrasing, that we've added a consequence for falling. Touching the chamber floor will lead to an unsatisfactory mark on your official record, followed by death.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. I felt a lot of the lines from GLaDOS were funny and humorous, and
Oh yeah,
Yeah, no, that was great, great, great writing, great
great.
job,
Hmm.
voice acting. And also, another thing I wanted to mention was near the end when you're going into or supposedly going into that fiery pit and you escape, the music picks up at that moment, and it really adds to it.
Yeah, yeah. They were like, and we mentioned early on when you first at the very beginning of the game, you basically hear this like elevator music version of that song "Still Alive" playing, and then at the end you get the actual version in the credits. So I thought that was a nice little like callback between start and finish there.
Yeah, but actually, in many, if not all of the chambers, kind of, did you guys notice when you basically do the last step, or yeah, the last quote unquote step, not footstep,
Yeah.
and then you're kind of walking towards the end of the chamber,
Hmm.
that music starts playing,
Oh yeah, I think you're right. Yeah,
right?
so, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. You said elevator music. I describe it as like old sounding carnival music. It sounded like to me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I could see that too. like played through a what are those phonographs? The thing with the big horn.
We had this discussion
Yeah.
already on Evil Within.
Oh right, yeah. I forget if that's what it's called.
Should really look that up.
Yeah. See how many
How many
games
more
have this
games are
thing.
gonna?
Games with phonographs or whatever it is. Or maybe that's just the way phonograph, yeah, yeah, used for mechanical recording and reproduction of sound. So I guess that does make sense. But it might have just been the way old record players looked. Like that's how they amplified the sound, just with that big horn thing.
Right, right.
Whatever. But
That's for another podcast.
yeah. Old inventions. All right. Anything else to add, or should we begin our final thoughts?
Do
All
you
right,
have a,
Oh,
sorry, one last thing. Do you have a record of your total playtime or not? Mine, because I played through Steam, so it
uh,
tells you how long you've been playing.
yeah, I don't think the Xbox app, like the PlayStation app, has the time you played a
Gotcha.
particular game.
Yeah, I don't think I have that either, but mine's way higher because I did all the
Yeah,
extra stuff.
What do
What
you
was
mine
think?
yours, Tom?
for just the main game was 6.4 hours. I don't know what point 4 hours is off the top of my
Well,
head.
Well, that's 40% of 60 minutes, I guess.
all
So
right, so you could beat that in a night.
yeah,
That's 24 minutes. So basically 6.5 hours, just about. Yeah, it's a long night, but I think it just squeaks in there.
yeah. I did not play it in one sitting, but yeah, you you can.
Yeah, actually, there is some benefit to stopping if you're kind of stuck on a puzzle.
Yeah, just
And I feel
clear
like
your mind.
yeah, we probably talked about this before in another game. I don't know, but
I think,
sometimes you just stop, come back the next day, and you could kind of beat it in 5, 10 minutes.
yeah, that happens with so many puzzle games and just
Yeah.
puzzles in life. All right. Tom, you want to start us off with your initial thoughts?
No, but I will start us off with the final thought.
Yeah, I said that wrong.
Um,
I'm stuck in a loop.
yeah, so I definitely recommend this game bundled with Portal 2 for $1.50. So if you're on Steam, want to pick it up on sale, definitely go for it. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was a fun game. I had fun throughout. I never felt bored or frustrated or stupid, which sometimes puzzle games make me feel.
Especially
Uh,
Grim Fandango.
yeah, exactly. This is a far cry from Grim Fandango. Yeah, so really good exercise for your brain in a fun way too, though. So yeah, definitely recommend it. Pick it up wherever you can.
Yeah, and I'll echo that actually because I do certainly recommend this. It's very unique because while there's a lot, a lot of games and even a lot of puzzle games as a subset of overall video games, this one just hits a little bit differently because there was effort put into the story and the world, even though it's kind of the same thing over and over again, at least the way it looks. But the gameplay's really unique, like using these portals as essentially your only mechanism that you can use, but still having to figure out how do you platform using those portals and how do you defeat enemies using those portals and all of that. So it was very, very unique and not just unique for uniqueness sake. It was unique, which made it an excellent game. So I would certainly recommend it. Yeah, and check out that song because there's no way to hear that song other than playing this game, of course. Amazon Music and YouTube do not exist. Pete, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mentioned at the beginning of the episode that the crux of the game is not even 10 chambers. So, there's not too much here. So if you're like, you need to go into the game realizing that there's not too much. Um, and to say it a different way, Tom mentioned his playtime was about 6.5 hours. Let's say it took him an hour to beat the first 10 chambers. Now that's 5.5 hours to complete the second 10. So that's 30 minutes. Let's to do more math here. 30 minutes per chamber. And, at the end, those challenging chambers. And, really, if you know what you're doing, you could beat them in 5 minutes. So, it's a lot of kind of, staring at the game, just kind of trying to think what could be a solution, trial and error. For me, that's a ton of fun. But if for some gamers, it might not be their cup of tea, to use a phrase that we like to use here. So, just keep that in mind. But, for me personally, after completing the original 19 chambers, I was really eager to do the still alive chambers and then even the advanced chambers. I spent a good amount of time on. And the last thing I just wanted to echo, and what you said is, going in, I really did feel like it was basically just going to be a puzzle game. And they really did a good job of making it feel more like with GLaDOS's narration, and then also near the end, you kind of get like the story and the escape and all that stuff. So really good game in my opinion. I definitely recommend it.
All right, there you have it. Another episode of Brothers and Boss Battles, a video game showdown. Today we discussed Portal and Portal Still Alive. Be sure to check us out on Instagram, X, YouTube, and Twitch at Bros Boss Battles. That's BROS Boss Battles. Make sure to like and subscribe wherever you get this podcast to get all of our content as soon as it comes out. And check us out in 2 weeks when we will be discussing the third of our category, games you can complete in one night. Until then, take care, everybody.